Okay, welcome. This is just Google. So, we are going to talk everything about Google. So, a lot of them are just little tips to make sure you understand how things are working in Google. Just different tips that you can use when you're creating folders, when you're trying to organize. Because I know, especially this past year, we've been using Google tremendously, and the organization of Google has just kind of gone by the wayside. So this is kind of a session to allow you to see different things that you can do, whether it's a Google Doc, whether it's your Drive, even Google Chrome. We're going to look at some of those things. So I'm going to start my screen share here and we'll get on our way. So hopefully you guys can multitask. So if you want to do some of these things along with me, you can minimize my screen. I'm going to mute my camera anyways, so you don't have to look at me. And then you can multitask. So as long as you can hear me, you can basically follow along. But I will be sharing my screen. So if you want to see, if you have it minimized and it's small, you might have to bring it up in order to see what I'm doing and then shrink it again. So when I'm doing a screen share, I am actually going to be sharing um, my entire screen, just because I'm going to be switching between different profiles and so forth. So you're going to see a lot of things. So this is my working computer. So you're going to see a lot of tabs open and different things that I got going on. So let me get that shared with you. So we're first going to talk about Chrome as a whole. It is, of course, best to use Chrome when you're using any of your Google applications. Google Docs, Forms, Classroom, all of that work best when you're using Chrome. And a lot of us do work at home. So when we're doing work at home, we want to make sure that we're keeping work separate from personal. We don't want to be, saving our bank account password on our school Chrome profile. So I just kind of want to talk about Chrome a little bit. And so you understand how to create multiple profiles and you can switch between them. So this is nice for us at TCCSA because we work with multiple districts. In each of our districts, we have a different Google account. Not only do I have Google accounts with work, I also have a personal Google account. Well, sometimes I'm using my work computer to check personal emails, like get the messages from teachers, things like that, that I need to check throughout the day. So the first thing is looking to see if you are actually signed in and syncing your Chrome. So if you look at my screen, I have two different profile pictures. So this one is for my Google applications. This is my actual Google account. That's how I can get to Drive, Docs, Classroom, any of those things. This is my profile picture for Chrome. So just because I'm using Chrome does not necessarily mean you're synced or you're actually signed into it. So once I click on this, you're going to see my information. So it's just labeled as person one. You can name it whatever you need to, but you can see that it is my TCCSA Google account. You can also see that sync is turned on. So what does that mean when sync is turned on? A couple important things. One, it is syncing anything you do. So your history, so any websites that you go to, any of your bookmarks that you save, next computer that you go to and you turn on sync, all of those items are going to come across. And you can see these are some of your quick access buttons across the top. So such as saved passwords. I, of course, don't have any payment methods set for work. And then also any addresses. So this is a very common one that people are like, well, I saved this this address always pops up when I'm trying to type in, an address. I want to get rid of it. Well, this is a way that I can get rid of it. So I can just click right on that and it will bring up any addresses that I have saved. So you can see I have two. I have my work and I have my personal. Okay. If I hear a knock at my door, I know that you're looking up my personal address. So, but if I move for some reason, I can come in here and edit or remove it if I need to. And again, that's just by clicking on my profile picture. So what I want you to do is look at all of the different profiles that I have. So if I am switching districts, so for example, I'm going to switch to Northwestern. If I switch to Northwestern, you can see that it pops up Northwestern, and then it's going to save or have my Gmail information for me. So I can sign in there. You can see Shelley Baltic has been signed in with her Northwestern-Wayne. So that's a great one because you guys have a long email address. I don't want to be signing in and out constantly under the same profile. But you can see up here that my sync is not on. Okay, so I'm not syncing any of my bookmarks. I'm not syncing my history, anything like that. But it is storing my account information. So all I would have to do is just sign in quickly. I also have this for my personal. So if I'm doing anything, if I'm looking at my personal calendar, which we'll get back to this, I can just switch to my personal and I don't have to sign in or out of any of my accounts. So how do we create a profile? So very simple. If I click on my profile picture, and actually let me switch back. So if I click on my profile picture, okay, you should see something called add. So this is different than guest. This is different than an incognito window. A guest is a temporary screen. An incognito is just call it a mystery window under your same profile. So it doesn't track your history and so forth. So if you want one for school and you want one for your personal, you're going to want to add another profile. So if I click on that, it allows me to customize my profile. You can even create a desktop shortcut if you want. So it actually puts the Chrome symbol and with that information. I'm going to uncheck that. And I'm just going to call this just Google because I'm going to get rid of it at some point in time. I can customize it how I want. And then once I click on done, it's going to open up a new Chrome screen. You can see it took the colors that I added. I can get signed in as Chrome if I have a sign in, or I can just start searching. But now under my profile, if you look, not only do I have my districts, but I'm signed in under just Google. Okay, so then I can switch back to my TCCSA. And then when I'm ready to go back to my just Google class, I can click on that and sign in as well. So it's just a way to keep yourself signed in, like I said, for a personal account versus a school account, or maybe you have multiple school accounts for a certain reason. Maybe you're in charge of a club, so you might want to create a profile for that club. Okay, I'm going to switch back to my TCCSA account. And here is something that is newer that I like. If you look across my screen, you can see that I have a lot of tabs open. So, and you can see some of them are my Google Drive. So I have a couple spreadsheets. I have some documents, things like that. I also have one called PB. So I'm guessing you can figure out what that is, but that's for Progress Book. So anything that I do in Progress Book is hidden under this, what they call a group. So if I click on that, you're going to see that it opens up several different tabs for me. So I have special services open, I have gradebook open, I have student information. So I can have all those tabs open, but if I'm not using them, I can just click on the group heading and it will close those. Same as with Drive. You'll see that these will close. It doesn't close the actual tabs. It just clumps them all together. So how do I do that? So very simple. So if I have a couple tabs that I want to group together. So I'm going to right click on a tab. Actually, we'll do this one. Okay. So I'm going to right click and I'm going to say add the tab to a group. So you can see I have two listed here. I have Progress Book and I have my Drive. But those two, that my conference information does not go into one of those. So I want to call this was my Neotech conference. So I'm going to create a new group. So I'll call this Neotech. I can pick a color if I want to customize what color it was. Okay. And then you can see here, I have this group. So it has my Neotech conference information in there. And then if I click on it, it makes it disappear. Well, now I have another tab that has to deal with the Neotech conference. So how do I get it in there? Now that I have the group created, I can right click on it, add it to this tab to a specific group. So I'm going to click on Neotech. And now you can see both of them have this orange outline around it. And then I would do the same thing for my last one. And then I have all of these. So when I am done looking at them, I can click on the group name and it hides them. So it kind of, if you're working on multiple tabs across the screen, it kind of helps eliminate that the cluster of all those tabs open. Because yes, you can see my screen. I have a ton of things open. So this kind of helps as I'm working on stuff. I can just open and close it and it cleans things up a little easier. Okay. So next thing I want to show you is dealing with bookmarks. So a lot of us bookmark things. So you can see I have bookmarks across the top. But what I want to focus on is these folders because these folders are uh, space savers. I have so much in my TCCSA folder. So these are all the different things that I click on, my progress book, all my different areas where I can sign into some important information that I have. But you can see it makes like a little drop down arrow for you so you can gather more bookmarks into one location. And then you can just move it up to the top so that you can have it across the bar and you can have those menus. So there's multiple ways that you can create a bookmark. You can click and drag, you can click on the star, you can see your bookmarks here as well. So we're going to go into our bookmark manager. So I'm just clicking on my little snowman menu. I'm going to bookmarks and my bookmark manager. So this is where you can customize things. Okay, so you can see I have folders, my progress book folder, I have folders within that as well as my tips and tricks. So how do I do this? So if I want to create a new folder, okay, so I'm going to add a new folder. I'm going to call this just Google, and then I'm going to hit save. Okay, so it puts it all the way at the bottom. So if I scroll down on the side, I'm going to see it at the bottom. Or if I'm in my main area, I'm going to see it at the bottom as well. I don't want it at the bottom because if it's at the bottom, I'm not going to see it across my bookmark bar. It would be way in here in the double arrow and all the way towards the bottom. I don't want it like that. So I'm going to move it towards the top. So you can do it one of two ways. You can move it here, or I can just simply click and move it where I need it to go. So you can see now that I moved that, you can see that it's right here. So if I move it first, it's going to maybe, let's move TCCSA down. Okay. So you're just rearranging. As I'm rearranging, it's going to be live right on my screen. So then I can add additional bookmarks in there, or I can add additional folders. So if I want to go inside my Just Google folder, and then maybe I want to add a new folder in here, I can click on that, and I'm going to call this samples, and I'm going to hit save. Now this is within that. So if I click on Just Google, I'm going to see that and it would expand it. Just like I have in Progress Book, I have SPS information in here. Okay. Any questions with bookmarking folders, things like that? I think it's a very helpful tip because like I showed you, I have a lot of logins, and so I can't memorize all those addresses, so I can just click and they're all listed here. So if you have online curriculum, your online testing site, things like that, you can put all of those in there and just have a drop down menu. So I'm going to stop there for a second. Does anybody have any questions? And I know it's a small group, but if you have questions, don't hesitate to stop me.
I don't have any questions, but I really like that whole grouping idea.
Yeah, I do. Like well, because you can see when I first started Bookmarks, I was not doing that, and they just sit here.
Yeah,
Now I keep them all organized, and these are my main ones that I use, so it really helps.
I really like that.
Good. I'm glad somebody got a tip out of today. Okay, so we're going to look at my drive now. Don't judge me based on my drive because my drive is a mess, just like all my tabs. Um, but let's look at different things that we can do and what we see, what we don't see, because a lot of people think, when things come out with my drive, sometimes they don't realize that the settings are hidden and they have the option to kind of customize how they want it to look. This is how I prefer mine to look. I like the list view. I do not like the quick access toolbar. Um, some people, oops, wrong one. Some people see it and they're like, I'm used to it. I just keep it. So this is what is called the quick access toolbar. Some people see it, they love it. Some people see it and they don't like it because they're like, well, it was just there and now I can't find my document. Because this is only going to show you a few of the recent documents that you have just accessed. So it is based on the size of your screen. So you can see, I can see 5 of them. So if you're on a Chromebook, you might only see 4. But again, like I said, sometimes people are worried about this because they're like, I just had that checklist up and now I don't see it. Where did it go? Well, now they have to go find it someplace else. So how do we turn this quick access on and off? It's very simple. So there is a gear, and inside the gear, there's settings. These settings are just for your drive. So that's it. It's not for any of your documents or anything like that. It's just for your drive. So I'm going to go into settings, and you can see there's several different options here. So we're going to talk about just a few of those. One is make relevant files handy when you need them in quick access. That's what that's called, is the quick access bar. So if I uncheck that, you can see it removes those thumbnails and gives me more space. Well, why do you need this? Well, you might not want kids to see what you have accessed recently. 2, if you're working on a Chromebook, you might have a smaller screen and you might not want it taking up all that room. Or 3, you just might not want that extra stuff at the top, so you want to get rid of it. So again, it's just a quick on off by clicking on the gear settings and either check it to turn it on or uncheck it to turn it off. Another item that I want to show in here is converting uploaded files. So if you know when you have a Word document, you can bring Word documents into Google without a problem. Once you say open with Google, it puts it in the Google window, but it still is an actual Word document. So what this does is instead of you saying save as a Google document, it will automatically convert it. So let's take a look. I'm going to leave this unchecked right now, and I'm going to bring in a Word document. So I'm going to upload a file. Where are my examples? There they are. So I want to bring in this checklist. So it's a Word document. I'm going to say open. And you can see that it's coming across as a .doc. Okay, so I have my little W here. It's showing me that it's a Word document. If I open it, it's going to open it in Google. You'd be able to edit it, but it's still keeping it as that .doc format. Okay, so that just means that it's keeping its original formatting. You can see some of the features can't be displayed in Google Docs. Okay, so now I have this. If I want it as an official Google document, okay? Because this document is actually going to count against my storage space. Not that you're going to run out of storage space, but it does count against it. So if I want to convert it into an actual Google document, I have to click on File, Save as Google Document or Docs. So now you can see I have two tabs open across the top. One is my checklist.doc and one is now the Google document. So if I look back in my drive, you can see I have the one that is still stored as a Word document, and I have my listening checklist that is now a Google document. And you can see here's the file size counting against my storage space, and this one does not because it's an actual Google Doc. So what does that option do if you don't like that? You're like, that's a lot of clicking. It is a lot of clicking. So I'm going to get rid of these two so you don't see them on my screen. We're going to trash those. Now let's do that again, but we're going to look at the automatic convert. So convert your file to a Google Doc. I'm going to say done. So I'm going to do that same thing. I'm going to go to new file upload. I'm going to find my listening checklist. And you're going to see it's bringing it over, but you can see even though it said it was a .doc, it brought it in as a Google document. So I don't have to go through that concept of saying save as a Google Doc. It just automatically does it for me. So again, personal preference. If you're using your drive to kind of back up some of your Word documents or PowerPoint presentations, you might not want it converted. So you might want to leave that off. If you're like, no, I have these lesson plans and every time I'm converting it and sharing it and so forth, you can change that setting to convert on upload. Okay, and then the last thing I'm going to show you is as we get older, and I have noticed because I'm starting to wear cheaters once in a while, we can change the density of how close or how far apart all of our file names are. So this is called comfortable. So it gives you, think of it as like a space and a half. So if we're talking about a document we're typing, we have single spaced, space and a half, and double spaced. So if I click on this, I want it double spaced, I would be, oops, that's your comfortable. So that's the furthest apart. Cozy would be my space and a half. So you can see it kind of brought them together a little bit more. And then when you have great eyes and you want everything all smushed together, single spaced is your compact. And that's going to bring everything even closer together. But sometimes you need this because, like I said, if you're working on a smaller screen, you might want to see more files at once. So you might want to keep those close together. Okay, so again, looking at our drive, we have a couple options of what it looks like. We have what I'm looking at right now is the list view, and then we have what is called the grid view. So people don't realize that there is this option, but you can switch back and forth. Now, a couple things that I want to point out, and I'm going to switch back to my drive because my drive is chaos. So a few things that you're going to miss when you switch from grid view to list view or vice versa. So I'm in list view. I can see items that have been starred. So I know this is an important thing. It would be listed in my starred items. If any of my documents are shared, I can see that they're shared. However, when I go to my grid view, still going to be the same order. Okay, so still will be the same order, but notice I don't see any of my items that are starred, and I can't see any of my items that are shared. So you're missing those visuals when you switch over to grid view. Now, does that mean that that stuff disappeared? No, not at all. So I can click on any of my documents and or folders, and I can click on my details. So then it's going to show over here who this item has been shared with, where it's located, and so forth. So if you like working in the grid view because everything's bigger, keep it in grid view, and you might want to keep your details open. So when you're clicking through things, you can see where they are or if they're shared and so forth. So I'm going to switch back to my list view. So another option is sorting. How do you want it sorted? Okay. And again, you're not going to get away from the fact that your folders are always listed first. So folders are always going to be there first. Things that you can do to tweak if you want them in a specific order, you can see symbols. So symbols will go first, then numbers, then letters. Um, when I say symbols, I also mean Bitmoji or emojis as well. So let's look at this. How else can I look this up? I can go by last modified. So this is showing me any of my items when they were last modified. And then you can see this is when the folder itself was modified, not contents within the folder. Okay, so just be aware of that because I've put stuff in here since 2019. But because I have not modified the folder name, it just shows that the folder was last modified then. Okay. If I want to go alphabetically, I just click on the word name and it's going to show me alphabetical. Okay. And then you'll see that it's got, oops, let's go the correct way. You can see that it's got any of my symbols first, and then it just goes down the list, and then my files start. So in grid view, a little bit different, okay, because you're going to have right here, you're going to have how you can look at it. So it's all in one spot. If you want it alphabetical, you can switch it by name, or you can switch it by last modified. Okay, so that's just kind of in two different spots. This is just using the column headings, where in grid view, it's all located in one spot. Okay, so let's look at our emojis real quick. Since we're here in Drive, we can spice things up a little bit. We can add things to them. So you know that you can modify the colors. So if I have something, for example, I'm going to create a new folder. So we're going to call it this, our Just Google folder. Oops, wrong spot, sorry. So I'm going to call this Just Google. So creates it. If I right click on it, I can change the color of it. So I can make it whatever color I need. If I want some type of Bitmoji, or I keep calling them a Bitmoji, and just an emoji icon in there, you can copy and paste it from wherever, whether it's a Google document that you've put a emoji in there, whether you have an extension that does it, if you go to a website. So I happen to have an extension that I can create. I have one created. So if I want this little computer symbol, or I can type something in, I have all the emojis in here. So I'm just going to click on it and it automatically copies it for me. Okay. So now if I come over here, I can click on it and say rename. And then if I want to put it at the beginning and at the end, and then say okay, and it adds it into the name. So it's just a fun way to do things. And again, if you are looking at things alphabetically, it is going to do all your symbols first, followed by numbers and then letters or characters. We're going to come back to that Just Google folder here in a little bit. We're going to get some information in there and create some things. But let's go over here to the side and let's look at our priority. So looking at our priority, when this first came out, I did not like it because I don't use this quick access bar across the top. And I'm like, oh, well, it's glorifying it. I can click on open. It tells me when I edited it. I can see more than just 4 or 5. I can scroll through and see the last ones that were opened. So I'm like, not going to use it. But then I discovered these workspaces. These workspaces are great. They are like file folders that you can put stuff in, or like creating bookmarks. Just like I showed you up here, it's like doing that, but in your Google Drive. So are you moving stuff around? Absolutely not. So basically what a workspace does is it creates shortcuts to multiple files that are in different locations. So it's great. So we're going to create a new workspace. I'm guessing you can figure out what I'm going to call it. So just Google. So now it creates this workspace and allows me to put up to 25 different files in here. So again, it is not moving the files into this workspace. It is just creating a shortcut to it. So for example, I want to add a file. So I can do it right now. It's going to bring up my recent, but you can also see that I can search my drive, my shared drive. I can go shared with me. So any of those things I can pull in here. So I can go through here and look for different things, pull things in. So if this is what I want in there, I could say, okay, I want my summer session in there and I want lunch and learn in there. And then I'm going to say insert. And you're going to see that it's going to bring those in there. Okay. So let's go in here and look at my Just Google. So you can see it's got those files in there. So did it pull it out of my drive? Absolutely not. So let's go look and find those actual files. So if I look in my PD folder, sorry, wrong folder. I went class descriptions. I put them all in one spot this year. Okay, so here are my class descriptions. So if I look in my 2021, you can see here is my lunch and learn, here's my summer sessions. Okay, they're shared. So I can click on all of these things to open them, but I can also just go to priority and I can say lunch and learn and open it up. Now, here's the thing with the workspace. I can also pull something out of another folder. So I'm going to go back to my drive. And I'm going to say, you know what? Oops, let's go back to my last modified. I need some of these other things in there. So maybe I want to put, we're going to pick this one. So pictures of Carson. I want to put that in there. You can see when I right click on it, it says add to workspace. Here are all my workspaces listed. So if I want to add that into just Google, I can. So now when I go back to my priority, it's there. I can open it from there or I can open it from my drive. But here's the nice thing. So for example, my report cards, this is from 2019. Well, I want to have all my next stuff in here. So I can remove something and add new. So let's look at that. I want to remove the pictures from Carson. So I'm going to click on that and I am going to say remove from workspace. Notice it doesn't give me the trash can because they don't want you to think that you're throwing it away. I'm going to say remove from workspace. It's going to remove it here. But if I go back to my drive, it's still going to be listed in its original location. Same with my lunch and learn. So if I click on my lunch and learn, I can say remove. It's not deleting it. So if I go back into my PD folder and I'll go into the correct folder this time. So if I go into my class descriptions and it should be listed right there as my lunch and learn. So again, those workspaces are just shortcuts for you so you can pull things from different places. So it's kind of a nice way to get to multiple things and not have to go searching for those folders. Okay, so speaking of folders, sometimes we create folders and then we need folders inside of them. So this happens often. So if I have my folder open and I create a new folder, it's going to create the folder in here. Okay, so here's my next folder. So you can see it's inside of my Just Google folder. Okay. So if I come back here and I look, I can see that I have my Just Google folder. If I create a new folder from here, it does not go into that folder. This is my outside one. So if I create that, now I have to take it and drag it into the folder that I want it to go. So I can click and drag it this way, or what a lot of people don't know is this little triangle on the side. I can open up all of my folders and I can click and drag this way as well. So if I click on this, I can, I can click and I can put it right into my Just Google folder. So now that they're both in there. So if I click on the caret next to Just Google, it's going to close it up, but they're still both in there. So what else can we do with a folder that we create? This is the nice thing, and Rebecca and I use it a lot because you guys know we co-teach. So she's creating some things, or I need her to work and put her descriptions for lunch and learns for her topics and things like that. So we're always sharing documents back and forth. Well, we don't want to just share the individual documents. So if you didn't know this little tip, docs.new will allow you to create a new document without clicking on anything. So this is just going to be my shared doc. Oops. Okay, so this is my shared document. So by default, it's not shared with anybody. It's private. Okay, so it's restricted to only people that I've shared. So I have not changed anything, shared it with anyone. So if I wanted to share it with somebody, I'm going to share this with demo 10. So I'm going to share this. I'm not going to notify them, but I'm going to share. Now it's shared. Okay, so we know how to share. We know Classroom shares for us. But here's the nice thing about folders. Okay, so if I have, I'm going to go back to my drive. Here's my shared document. If I want to put this into my folder, so I'm going to put this in my Just Google folder. Okay, it's going to pull it out over. It's still going to be my shared with demo 10. Oops, I put the wrong thing in there. That's okay. I've been talking about Just Google so much, I grabbed my Just Google. Where's my shared doc? Right here. So I'm going to grab my shared doc and bring that one in. Okay, so now it's in here. It's still showing that it's shared. So if I create a new document in here, it's going to create in here. Okay, so I'm going to create this new document. This one's going to be within the folder. I'm not doing that too well today. Okay. So again, it's private to just me. So why are we going through all this? Because here's the nice thing. So I can see that this one was shared, this one hasn't. But I'm like, well, I want Rebecca to see this, or demo 10. I want him to see all of these items that are in this folder. So instead of sharing each of the documents, I'm going to share the entire folder. So you can do it multiple ways. So I can click on the menu for my Just Google and I can say share. If I'm in my drive, I can right click on my Just Google folder and I can say share. So I can share this with, I'm going to share this with demo 10. And you can see that it's going to share the entire folder. So now what it's going to do is take any of those items that were in here and they're now all shared. Well, here's the nice thing too. If I create a new document, so this is my shared folder. Okay, so it's not shared with anybody. Okay, because we can see that it's still private. It's got the lock on there. But now when I'm in my drive, if I take this document and I click and I drag it into my shared folder, you're going to see it's going to say it's visible to anybody in the Just Google folder. So if I say move, I'm going to look at that file. There it goes. So here it is. And now it's showing me that it's been shared. Or if I create new right in this folder, it's going to share it automatically. So it kind of saves you a step if you're sharing multiple things with the same person and over. So feel free to create that folder, share the folder. Why do I talk about folders? And you're like, well, what about the shared drives? Shared drives works as well. Okay, you can use shared drive. Shared drives are also good if somebody is leaving the district. They can put items in the shared drive. However, one item that you cannot put in the shared drive is a Google form. So if you're collaborating with somebody on a Google form, it will not allow you to put it into a shared drive. You do have to put that in a drive folder that you can share. So just one little tip there. Okay, let's look at one more thing in Drive, and then we're going to kind of go down our list and look at some other applications. So the last thing that a lot of people don't know is searching. We know we can search for a document. So if you're looking for something, I'm going to search just Google and see what pops up. It's going to bring up all of my results and show me those items. So you can see right here, it will search anything that has these two words in it. So somewhere in all of these, those two words are in there. Okay. So what else can this do? This also allows you to search by a specific type. So if you are just looking for Google Forms, if I hit search, it's going to pull up all my Google Forms. If I want just, we'll just do PDFs, I can hit search and it's just going to search for those and bring that up. Now, I can also add on to this. So if I want just PDFs that say lunch, so maybe these were my lunch and learns or something, but somewhere within this PDF, so the type is a PDF, it says the word lunch. Okay. So again, another way to kind of search for things, find things, and not going through the mess of Drive that you have. Also, don't forget that you can search by a specific person. So if I want to search for items from Carson, I can search for Carson. It's going to bring up things from him, and you can see it's going to show me, I'm just searching by a name, and it's showing me that he's the owner of some of these documents. Or I can search by a specific person. So if I want to search for his username, then it's going to show me the difference between typing in the name and the username. He has to be the owner. So he's looking, it is looking that he is the owner of this. If you click on a person's username, I can remove that. So if I shared something with him, you can see that I am the owner, but I had to remove that word owner at the beginning. Okay. Okay, any questions with Drive before I move on to a shared drive? Okay, let's look at a shared drive real quick. So it's not much different than your drive. However, what it does is it just takes away ownership. So nobody owns the document. So if somebody is leaving your district and they create lesson plans or they have worksheets that you want to use and they share them with you and then they disable that person's account, you lose access to them because they're the owner of it. So it's best to put them in a shared drive. It takes the ownership away from them and it gives it to the members in the shared drive. So you do have to be a member of the drive. So for example, if I look here at my PD team, it shows that there's 3 people in there. So if I click on that, you can see the different files that I have, and I have 3 people. So I can click on manage members or my 3 people, and it's going to show me who they are. So you can see Rebecca and I are in there. Well, those of you that know Joe, Joe left. He left a while ago. So maybe now we want to remove him from here. We can remove him. And then he no longer has access to this. Okay, so it's just a way. So I don't own the documents. I have access to the documents that are in a shared drive. So, and it's based on 5 different settings. The manager, you have full access. You can add people, remove people, change the settings, change people's settings, things like that. A content manager can add and remove files, but they can't add and remove people. The the contributor can just add and edit files, but they can't delete anything. So that's kind of nice for people that, um, if you want them to contribute stuff, but you don't want them like deleting any of these. Because if I delete this PD log, it deletes it for everybody. So everybody loses access. So it's not like deleting something out of your shared with me and you're just getting rid of your access. You're actually deleting that document. And then comment and view is just like a regular shared document. Okay. So that's the difference. Nobody owns these documents. The drive owns it. So if Rebecca leaves, I still have access to all of them. Or if I leave, she has access to all of them. Maybe we hire somebody new. So instead of going through all these documents or files and sharing everything, I just add the new person and then they automatically have access to the folders and files. Okay. So real quick with shared with me. So just be aware that anything that you open that is a Google application, so docs, sheets, slides, if you open it up, it will automatically put a copy in your shared with me. So if you don't want it, you can just click on it and you say remove. It removes your access to that document. But because Rebecca is the owner of it, she is still the owner of it. It does not delete it from her. Okay. The other thing is with shared with me, you cannot organize it. You can either put it alphabetical or the share date. So if you want this in a specific folder, I can make a shortcut in my drive. So if I want to put this in my meetings folder, I can click and drag and just move it into meetings. Now you will notice that it did not move it from here. If I click on meetings, you are going to see that it's going to have a little symbol that's showing me that a shortcut was created in my drive. So I can keep this shortcut here. If you are that type of person that you need to have your shared with me cleaned up, I can actually remove this. You're going to see it's going to say it's going to be removed from my view. Collaborators such as Rebecca still has access. But if I go back into my drive and I go back into my meetings folder that I'm not seeing, there it is. You're going to see that I still have the shortcut to it. So as long as you create the shortcut in my drive, you still have access to open it up and you can clean it out of your shared with me. Okay. A little bit different than a shared drive. Shared drives, you can't do any cleaning up. So it's either in the drive or not. The shared with me, you can create those shortcuts in your drive so you can organize things a little bit better. Okay, let's move on a little bit. So when we're working in Drive or any of our applications, you can see there's a little taskbar across the side. The tasks are going to be a little bit different based on what application you're in. So right now I'm in Drive. I have access to my calendar, my Google Keep, and tasks. So if you're not seeing this, you can hide and open the side panel. Okay, so you can see if you're not seeing it, you just click on it. So from here, I can quickly access my calendar. So if I click on calendar, it's going to show me by date. So it's going to show me today's date. It's almost 5 o'clock. anything that I have scheduled is on there. Okay. And I know it's pathetic. I don't have anything on my Google Calendar in my TCCSA just because I use my Outlook calendar. Okay. But what else you can do from here, I can pick a different day. So if I want to see what's going on next Monday, I can just switch by the date. So I can scroll through if I need to. I can also change it to schedule view. So what schedule view is going to show me items that I have on my schedule. So you can see it lists it nicely. So instead of looking at that day at a glance, you're looking at multiple days and you're just seeing the event and what time it's at. So again, that's by switching it to schedule. So let's look at schedule in the big picture in the calendar. So we can open up our calendar right from that side there. It's going to bring me into my calendar view. Okay, so, and again, I don't have much on this calendar, so I'm going to pull up a different calendar so you guys can see this. Okay, so this is a different calendar. Okay, so I have multiple things on here. I'm looking at it at for the month, I can see different things. But if I want to see that schedule view, I'm going to switch from month to schedule. And then you can see it lists everything by day. So I can see several items that I have on each day. So sometimes it's nice to look at a glance, multiple things that you have going on for the day, because if you look on the 21st, I have a couple all day events, but then it says 2 more. Well, I can't see those unless I click on them and then it's going to bring them up. But if I'm looking at my schedule and I can scroll down to the 21st, it's going to have everything listed. So again, just a different way to look at your calendar, but just note that you can always get to your calendar from your Google Drive by clicking on the little calendar symbol on the side. Next thing I want to show you is in Gmail. So this is a feature that I do use with my personal Gmail, not so much my TCCSA Gmail, because that one forwards to my Outlook. But I do like this feature. It is very handy. So how many times have you received an email over the weekend and you're like, I'll take care of that on Monday? But you're like, oh, am I going to remember? Yeah, I already read it. Am I going to remember on Monday to finish up with this email? So here's the nice thing with snoozing. So if you have a message and you're like, you know what, I want to take a look at this, but I don't have time right now. I need to do it during my plan, or I need to do it tomorrow morning, or like I said, on a Monday morning. So for example, I want to get my session scheduled for this conference coming up, but I don't have time today. So if I click on this, one of my options is to snooze. So, or if I hover over it, I have the little clock symbol here as well. So basically what that does is it allows me to pick a date and time when I want this to repopulate in my inbox at the top. So if I want to say, later on today or tomorrow, I can do that, or I can pick a specific time. So maybe tomorrow my plan time is at 9:03, and that's when I want it to repopulate. So then when I click on save, you can see it removes it from my inbox. Okay, so it doesn't take it away. Okay, so it's not like it's deleting it. It puts it into this folder right here called snoozed. So if I click on that, I can always get back to it if I want. But tomorrow at 9:03, this message is going to show up in my inbox right at the top. So again, a nice way, a nice reminder. So instead of reminding yourself with a Google Keep or a task, you can just use the snooze in Gmail. So I'm going to stop there on that note and see if there are any questions from you guys, or if there's anything that you want me to touch on before we are done for the day. I am going to put the tiny URL in. Oops. I'm going to put that in the chat. So if you guys want to get your certificate of participation, I also recorded this. So if you wanted to look something over again, you can always go back to the recording as well.